After trusting democracy, you made it clear. Better an atheist than a furry. A real shame. So can you beat Age of Mythology as an atheist? Ironically, I'm Christian, but according to Greco-Roman standards, I'd technically be considered atheist since I don't believe in their pantheons. Seriously, early Christians were called atheists. How times have changed. Anyways, the laws are simple. No mythical units. They aren't real, so why use them to solve my problems? No god powers or upgrades. Again, they aren't real, so they won't solve my problems. The tech tree does require me to make a temple, and I do need to spend mythical favor to make siege units, but as long as no one's worshipping, it's fine. Heroes that don't cost favor are allowed, for example, Theseus or Jason. Clearly, these legends are just based on real warriors whose exploits were exaggerated. The run will be done on moderate since I'm new to the game. We start in Atlantis. Atlantis isn't real. They were probably sea people or something. Anyways, the Greeks want help in the Trojan War. Supposedly, Poseidon's mad that we're not helping, but Poseidon isn't real. What's that? Giant krakens attacking? Ridiculous. They're clearly just old squids, which tend to surface when they are dying. Anywho, I need to fend off pirates until the army arrives. With Arcantos, spearmen, archers, and catapults, I beat up more raiders, including these giant scorpions and men wearing wolf heads. Totally not mythical. Reinforcements arrive and we secure the harbor. To shut up his council, Arcantos heads for Troy and along the way goes after the pirates. After landing, I build a camp and a temple. I'm not allowed to use the temple, but I do need to make one to advance to the classical age. Now, I don't believe in Ares or Hermes, but since I have to pick one to advance, I picked the alleged god of war since I'm currently waging war. With Arcantos, Theseus, spearmen, and archers, I overrun the pirate camp. The defenses consist of venomous snakes and guys wearing bull masks. The expert tactic of stabbing my problems, I end the mission. I'm for Troy. I need to destroy the Trojan fleet for my allies. I get access to Ajax, a guy with a lion hat, as well as light and heavy cavalry. Good thing too, since the enemy's using more bullhead guys and tall people to defend their harbors. Now, I don't believe in Greek gods, but if I had to choose, I'd go with Dionysus, because wine. With the expert tactic of throwing disposable warriors at their walls, I make an opening and get reinforced by more cavalry and catapults, allowing me to clear the way. I need to breach the outer walls. Sadly, there isn't much gold nearby. Fortunately, the Trojans had developed the unique adaptation of not guarding their workers, allowing me to steal their mines. Now, I don't believe in Greek gods, but if I had to choose, I'd go with Apollo for archers. Anyways, with a godless army of hoplites, archers, cavalry, Arcantos, Ajax, and catapults, I smash their gates and continue. Logical lore. While there was an ancient city of Troy, its size and development remain unclear. The legends depict a bustling metropolis that was brought to ruin by a siege from the Mycenaean Greeks. The actual city is speculated to have been an outpost for the Hittite Empire, the dominant power in Anatolia and a rival to the Egyptians. After breaching the gate, I save Ajax and prepare a force to drive the Trojans back. You know the drill, hypothetically pick a god, get upgrades, build up infantry, cavalry, and blast through these definitely non-mythical warriors to win. Surprise! The Trojans attacked my allies while I was gone. Agamemnon suggests the rational decision to cut our losses, but Arcantos decides on the expert tactic of horse. I need to get a bunch of wood to make the classic Trojan horse and sneak in. Of course, realistically, there probably was no Trojan horse. People probably confused it with a siege engine. But for the sake of the mission, let's pretend the horse is real. While constructing it, I'm periodically attacked by enemy scouts who'll summon reinforcements if they return to base. Using the classic hammer and anvil tactic, I pin patrols with infantry and flank them with my cavalry, buying enough time to get the horse together. This lets my heroes sneak in. After beating up two very tall, definitely human warriors, I get a hold of some siege towers and break open the gate for the army. After razing the fortresses, the mission ends. After sailing to Iolcos, we discover the place has been trashed by bandits. Initially, all I have are these useless villagers and hallucinations of centaurs. Thankfully, with the expert tactic of letting my heroes do all the work, I secure enough buildings to make an army of real warriors. Since hallucinations are really tough with the expert tactic of ignoring my problems, I destroy the enemy base, ending the mission. Bad news. Some guy with one eye is holding several prospectors hostage and the heroes decide to split up. The left side has all the gold while the right side has all the wood. Thankfully, the enemy only sends infantry on the left and ranged units on the right, so I just build anti-infantry and anti-archers. Eventually, my forces meet up and launch one final attack on the enemy fortresses, ending the mission. Logical lore. It's speculated that the origins of the Cyclops came from elephant skulls, several of which were found on the island of Crete. The large hole in the center is supposed to be for the trunk, but folks likely saw it as an eye. One-eye guy is trying to knock down a gate. Supposedly it's a gate to Tartarus, but the underworld isn't real. Anyways, after putting these centaur hallucinations in timeout, I send my real infantry and cavalry to the ram. A challenge isn't beating up the enemy, rather it's destroying the ram, which had developed the unique adaptation of being extra thick! While the ram comes close to breaching the gate, my forces bring it down, ending the mission. Unfortunately, an earthquake collapses the cave. Supposedly we're in the underworld, but realistically we're probably just high in volcanic gas. Anyways, the gas hallucinations tell me to pick up some useless relics. After getting access to a fleet and putting more squids out of their misery, I beat up some snakes and get the last relic. I totally didn't need to use the hallucination of Chiron to carry the last relic. Anywho, there's a final group of tall guys blocking the exit, but with the expert tactic of fighting them one-on-one, I clear the way to the end. Akantos hallucinates a staircase, which thankfully is just his subconscious leading him to the cave's entrance. Turns out the cave led to Egypt. Anywho, Commander Amonra needs help defending the excavation of an old artifact. There's 3 paths for the enemy to enter the valley, each blocked by a wall. After fortifying each entrance with towers, I build up a force of axemen and slingers. I get attacked by giant beetles, but the heroes probably just smoked too much burning bush. Anywho, the relic is unearthed and the mission ends. Kemsit's army is heading for an old statue. Supposedly it can come to life and destroy him, but we know better. Regardless, I need to secure the city before Kemsit wipes out the nearby villagers. Mustering a force of chariot archers, war elephants, and siege towers, I smash through the defenders in a stampede of animals. I hallucinate the statue moving, but statues can't move, so I use the expert tactic of sending dozens of loyal followers to early retirement and win. Logical lore. Living statues are performers who pose as statues for a living. Their use dates back to the Renaissance, where they functioned as entertainment for royalty. Performers would paint themselves, pose, and stay still for extended periods of time. I gotta return the body of Osiris back to safety. Supposedly he'll resurrect if his parts come back together. But we know better. Someone who doesn't know better is the heroes who leave the wagon poorly defended, forcing me to save them. After securing the wagon with axemen, I build a force of chariot archers, camel riders, and elephants to fend off counterattacks. With the expert tactic of sending dozens of loyal followers to early retirement, I hold until the relic reaches safety. Jokes! The enemy set a trap and takes Arkantos and Ajax prisoner. Amonra prays to Isis, the Egyptian goddess of magic, but magic isn't real, so I disregard this. Instead, I build a force of infantry to repel enemy elephants and eventually add chariots, camels, elephants of my own, and siege towers. After defeating yet another stampede, I breach the keep, draw foes like sheep, and free my peep. I need to secure a piece of Osiris in the city. Kemsit moves it every so often, and Kamos continuously raids my base. Scratch that, Kemsit only moves it like twice on this difficulty. After blocking Kamos from the harbor, I storm the city and secure the carriage, ending the mission. Akantos dreams about Zeus or whatever. He gets an army and has to fight these weird creatures to escape a cave. Then he has a dream about One Eye invading Atlantis. I suppose I could use One Eye since this is a dream, but as a non-believer, I know better. After getting wrecked by earthquakes several times and getting an army of hoplites, hypaspists, toxotes, and catapults. For some reason, lightning strikes my guys every time they walk by these statues, but after throwing rocks and fighting a billion horses, I destroy the wonder, ending the dream. Logical lore. Lightning is basically static on steroids. Static charges build when 2 objects rub together. In the case of the sky, it's moisture and ice crystals. The upper part becomes positively charged, but the bottom of the cloud becomes negatively charged. Since like charges repel, the negative cloud molecules push away the negative ground molecules, giving the ground a positive charge. And since opposites attract, well, you know the rest. Amonra attacks Kemsit's stronghold. By gathering local support, I get a good economy and army going. It also helps that the enemy has developed the unique adaptation of not attacking me. Must be on lunch break. After gaining naval superiority, I overrun the city in a tide of cavalry, elephants, and catapults. Suddenly, Vikings. Apparently the Norsemen now exist in the same time period as ancient Greeks and Egyptians. I start off with no gold or trees, but after plundering the local ruins and setting up outposts, I get swamped by war elephants. Also, there's walking mummies, probably just cactus juice. With spears, axes, slings, catapults, and pharaoh, I spend the rest of the mission chopping a tree. Arkantos and Ajax track the next piece to Kamos' fortress. After sneaking past Kamos' blockade, I build an army until Kamos looks to his left and sees me. Fortunately, he seems to have developed the unique adaptation of not attacking me, giving me plenty of time to storm the fortress. Asterius, you are not. I'm on release the charge to the final Osiris piece. I have to fight my way there and hold until Arkantos arrives. With the expert tactic of taking too long, Arkantos shows up anyways. I send waves of spears, axes, slings, catapults, and elephants into Kemset's fortress, overwhelming it. A drug-induced hallucination of Osiris shows up, causing One Eye's army to panic, but he escapes yet again. Magical lore. Drugs in ancient times were used for either medicinal or recreational purposes. In the case of ancient Greece, these included mandrake, frankincense, and opium. For ancient Egypt, they used hashish and also opium. In fact, there's evidence of a sizable drug trade in the Middle East around 3,500 years ago. I suppose some things never change. On the way up north, Arkantos tracks Odysseus to a mysterious island, only to find a bunch of pigs. Then Arkantos hallucinates himself and Ajax turning into pigs. Trippy. Fortunately, things return to normal after reaching the Temple of Zeus, but it's probably just the drugs wearing off. After building an army of Epaspis, Peltis, Toplites, Prodromoi, and catapults, I overrun Circe's defenses and save Odysseus. After reaching Scandinavia, an avalanche scatters my army, forcing me to link up in the frozen wastes. I get access to axe throwers, hammer guys, and battering rams. Mechanically, the Norse are interesting since their units build structures instead of the workers, allowing me to quickly build a base. Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by 3 enemies, allowing them to quickly destroy it. I send a mix of tall white boys, guys that shout, and wolves, all of whom are a pain to deal with. It doesn't help that the game finally starts punishing me for never building walls. Nevertheless, with a mix of axe throwers, hammer guys, and rams, I storm each temple and drive One Eye's forces away. Amonra comes across 2 dwarves who are clearly just really short men. They need help reclaiming a forge from giants who are clearly just really tall folks. Anywho, the mine is lightly guarded. I have to fend off a counterattack or 2, but even the hold-out segment is fairly uneventful. It's almost as if playing on moderate might be too easy. Oh well, I'll try Titan next time. Gotta keep things somewhat consistent. Anywho, I get bored and decide to raise the enemy base, which is filled with people on fire. Perfectly normal. The gang comes across an old dude and full stag bannerman. The Norse clans are currently beating each other up and getting beaten up by the tall folk, so to secure their raid, I need to escort Skuld to the end of the valley. Unfortunately, the tall folk block the way with boulders. Now the mission tells me to advance to the heroic age and build a base so I can destroy the rocks with siege equipment. Very logical. Instead of doing this, I proceed to make my starting units dig us through, which triggers a massive attack wave before I have any defenses in place. Using the expert tactic of letting all my villagers and friends die, I get Arkantos, Skuld, and the bannerman to the exit, ending the mission. Logical lore. Gigantism is a condition where one has high levels of growth hormone, causing them to grow really tall. This can be caused by a tumor on the pituitary gland, which is responsible for producing said hormones. Once the growth plates in your bones fuse, these hormones stop increasing height and focus on maintaining the body. With gigantism, patients produce too much and grow super quickly, sometimes reaching over 8 feet. Gigantism often causes vision problems, headaches, joint pain, sleep issues, and muscle weakness. After presenting the full stag banner, the Norsemen immediately unite and attack me. To stop this nonsense, I set up an ambush for the 3 clan leaders, luring each army out and assassinating each leader, allowing their forces to join me. Surprise, surprise, Skuld is in fact a traitor who tricked us into beating up the Vikings. Thankfully, Regan Leaf shows up. She's listed as a Valkyrie, but she's a hero, so her mythology is 0. The other Valkyries aren't real though. Anywho, I need to free the 3 nearby clans from One Eye's forces. After clearing the mines, fortifying the 2nd clan, and saving the 3rd leader's daughter, the mission ends. With the clans united, I head for the Well of Erd, which is supposedly another entrance to the underworld. Clearly, it's just a deep well. Perfectly normal. Anyways, after moving a force of axemen, throwing axes, cavalry, and ballistas, I storm the well entrance and move on. Jokes, I gotta hold the surface while the heroes go down under to destroy One-Eye's ram again. Since there's a ton of allegedly mythical units near the ram, I use the expert tactic of spamming hammers to smack my way to victory. Thankfully, I don't need to destroy the ram again, just douse the burning men guarding it. Logical lore. Self-immolation is the act of setting oneself on fire to get an early grave. The practice has been around for millennia, dating back to ancient Greece. Both Heracles and Dido supposedly ended themselves with fire, as did King Croesus of Lydia after losing his war with the Persians. In 300 AD, Christians set Nero's palace ablaze after jumping into the flames. The act is viewed as both surrender and sacrifice, a last act of defiance and protest for those who do it. Unfortunately, there's too many burning men, so Arcantos hallucinates the hallucination of Chiron sacrificing himself. But centaurs aren't real, so the rock probably just collapsed. Perfectly normal. To keep One-Eye from freeing the prisoner Kronos, we need a giant hammer to nail his door shut. The short folk have the hammerhead, but I need to cut a handle. While I get reinforcements, these alone won't be enough to protect my workers. While the hammer boys arrive, they can't fight through One-Eye's forces alone. With the expert tactic of letting my heroes do all the work, I link up with the hammer and get back in time to save my workers from the enemy. Using the expert tactic of sending all my workers to cut the handle, I finish the hammer long before One-Eye overwhelms me. One-Eye isn't too happy about me foiling his plans for the third time, so he sends his army to wipe me out. I got 10 minutes to fortify my position before he attacks, allowing me to build a series of walls, towers, axe throwers, axemen, and hammer boys to defeat him. Odysseus shows up to help out, allowing me to completely ignore the army destroying my base, and finally letting me capture One-Eye. Jokes, it was Kempsit in disguise. One-Eye actually sailed to Atlantis to open another gate. Who knew alleged deities love starting wars over doors? Anyways, I need to save 15 prisoners from One-Eye's forces. After making landfall, I fortify my position and proceed to get bodied repeatedly by tall boys until my army smashes through the central base with a mix of hoplites, hypaspists, toxotes, peltests, and catapults. With the center under control, I hit the nearby prisons and free my people, ending the mission. Against all common sense, Arcantos sends his friends away and decides to fight One-Eye alone. Nevertheless, with my Norse and Egyptian buddies, I should still be able to win. Okay, maybe if I try funneling them to my ally. You know what? As an atheist challenge, I think I can acknowledge reality. And the reality is, the challenge doesn't matter. It's an arbitrary set of rules imposed on a game from 20 years ago. So screw it, I'm lowering it to easy. Anyways, now I can move out on the map. With a mix of hoplites, hypaspists, toxotes, peltists, and catapults, I fight my way to the end. Arcantos hallucinates a Poseidon statue attacking his men, and Zeus giving him divine powers. He's probably just smoking some volcanic gas. Anyways, after hallucinating his victory, a statue collapses on One-Eye and the island sinks. Logical lore. It said the Oracle of Delphi gained her powers from a gas emitted from the cavern. Analysis of the gas and water at the site shows a mix of methane, ethane, and ethylene. Ethylene is frequently used as an anesthetic, which may explain the trance-like states the Oracle often found herself in. So can you beat Age of Mythology as an atheist? Almost. A surprising 30 out of 32 missions can be done without using myth units. Only strangers and a place in my dreams actually require myth units to win. The former requires Chiron to carry the relic to the end, the latter forces me to pull an Illidan by using the blessing of Zeus to defeat an overpowered boss character. There's probably some way to mess with the statue's AI to beat it without the blessing, but otherwise it's not practical to spend all that time and effort after getting destroyed on moderate for an hour. Anyways, Patreon. Sign up for early access, ad-free videos, and work-in-progress updates, and to motivate me to keep making stuff. Shoutouts to Time, Gladys Marino, Abby Ackred, Jen Tuong, and Michael Phillips for supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay away from those volcanic gases.